Hello and welcome back to the Game and Muscle YouTube channel, and welcome to this Assetto Corsa Competizione video where I'm going to talk briefly about how to get crispy quality from the onboard cockpit in AC, and what's required to get that crispy quality. I'm going to, this has been recorded in 1440p. Unfortunately, I can't record in 4K because my fat box machine of recording just doesn't have the processing power or the required graphics card to do 4K 60 FPS, but we're recording this in 1440p so you can enjoy the crispiness a little bit if you've got a 1440p monitor or you turn your YouTube settings up, so make sure you do that. Now I'm going to start driving. I'm going to talk briefly about the visual qualities in ACC, then I'll go through the settings that we're using with our 4K monitor and why you basically need a 4K or at least a 1440p screen to enjoy Assetto Corsa without feeling like you've gone blind. So basically, when ACC first came out, the early access, and it's still in early access, so keep that in mind, stuff will change. Disclaimer, stuff will change. But when the first early access came out, and up until this early access, I've been playing Assetto Corsa Competizione on a 1080p monitor, and regardless of what settings I put up, ACC just looked fantastic from the aerial views, from the third-person views, from the trackside views. That looked amazing. But from the cockpit view, the onboard view, which you spend most of your time driving, ACC just looked blurred. The trees in the distance looked like some Vincent van Gogh piece of artwork, all smudgy and blurred, basically like a toddler had been allowed to paint some trees onto the circuit. I wasn't able to clearly see the road texture, so the sense of speed was pretty much negated because the road texture is the closest thing to the car, and the details of the road texture moving towards you are pretty much one of the main things that give you a sense of speed. That was missing. And then, if I wasn't using the Temporal AA or using FXAA, I would have to turn the resolution scale all the way up, and even then, it would still look blurry, as if I was well overdue a cataract operation. So, yes, needless to say, on a 1080p screen, Assetto Corsa Competizione was visually not making me happy, and I was starting to question why people were so excited about the graphics of ACC. I mean, I know that the Unreal Engine could look nice, but I played Unreal Tournament and other Unreal-based games on my 1080p screen. It didn't look that atrocious, but ACC, for whatever reason, did. Partly because it's early access, but also because it's a driving sim and you're looking a quarter of a mile into the distance, as that's just what you do when you're driving. So, with that in mind, I was just resigned to a mild sense of bad weather British depression. But recently, we got a 4K TCL TV. Probably not the ideal TV for gaming, but a nice budget, £340, 43-inch 4K TV with low latency. Check out rtings.com for information on latency screens and low latency screens, and TCL make good, cheap, low latency screens. So we got this TCL monitor, we got it set up on the rig, and load up ACC, and lo and behold, it turns out that if you throw resolution at ACC, it perhaps unsurprisingly negates many aspects of the blurriness that we were experiencing on the whilst playing ACC in 1080p. It wasn't perfect, so we did have to do a lot of fiddling with settings, or a mild amount of fiddling with settings, to get something that does look nice. But we've got it to a point now, thanks to those extra pixels, that I have to say ACC looks pretty damn crispy and not a pain to look into the distance. The trees actually look nice in the distance. The road textures look nice close up. I'm getting a good sense of speed. So I'm going to go through the settings, but there's a big takeaway from this, and a little bit of unfortunate reality to this. So let's just pause this. So the big takeaway is that fundamentally due to the fact, I think primarily that the Unreal Engine and the version of the Unreal Engine that Kunos are using is the deferred renderer version rather than the forward renderer version, which means it can't use traditional AA that you'll be used to with your classic PC games. Because of that, basically the only solution is to throw resolution at the game to get the clarity back. Temporal AA. Let's go back to graphics. Temporal AA and both Temporal and FXAA don't work well on a 1080p monitor. They're both post-processing based versions of AA, and the compromise with them really is that you're actually losing sharpness and clarity by using these forms of anti-aliasing. On a 1080p screen, you're not in a position, you haven't got pixels that you can waste effectively for AA and make things look more blurred, because it's already at the limit. If you've got a 1080p screen close to you, you know you can already see the pixels and stuff. You can't use these. But when you get to 4K screens, and I would have thought as well at least 1440p monitors, especially if they're smaller monitors at 1440p, the pixel per inch will be fairly similar to a 4K screen. When you get to the 4K threshold, or that pixel per inch threshold, these FXAA, well, not FXAA, it's still pretty terrible actually. It's passable, but it's not very good. But Temporal AA, the blurriness that you get from Temporal AA is negated by the sheer number of pixels that you've got. And I think this is really the reason why this whole situation has occurred is that Unreal Engine is used as a cross-platform engine. Most people now playing computer games are going to be playing on at least 1440p monitors, or thereabouts. Or if they're playing on their game consoles, they're going to be using 4K TVs, or that's kind of like the baseline now. It's not 1080p, it's 4K. So I can understand the Unreal Engine going in this direction. I can understand that's just how things are, and this is where we need to go from. But the downside is, as we found out, if you play AC on a 1080p screen, or you play it on a VR headset, but we won't talk about that at this point in time, it's just going to look awful. Whatever you do, you can bump the internal resolution scale up, you can put Temporal AA on full, it just looks blurred, and it doesn't pass what I would describe as the basic visual quality threshold to make it suitable as a driving simulator. And that visual quality threshold isn't to do with fancy lighting or things, sharp, amazing textures and details and everything. It's to do with the basic practicality of I don't want to get eye strain whilst playing a driving simulator. So like Live for Speed passes that threshold. It's not a crazy graphics threshold. It's just a basic comfort threshold. Regardless, the big downside though on the PC side is that, you need the hardware. So you need a gaming monitor or a monitor that's got that resolution, or a 4K TV like I'm using. And in my case, to get what I consider to be a nice functional image that runs at 60 FPS, I'm using an i7 6700K, 7600K, and a 1080 Ti graphics card with 16 gigabytes of RAM in my system. And with that system, that's only just enough to pretty much hit 60 FPS as an average frame rate across the vast majority of situations, day, night, rain, and what have you, in Assetto Corsa Competizione. And that's using these settings here. You'll see we've got, make sure my camera's not blocking the stuff. We've got VSync disabled, of course, full screen enabled, running at 4K, resolution scale's 100%. We don't want to render any more than 4K. Computer's going to catch on fire. View distance set to epic. In my mind, this setting is a basic functional setting. And driving sim, you're looking is the distance. I want the view distance on epic. Shadows we've got on high. If you turn the shadows down, you get shimmering. So it's like at a basic level, you kind of need it on high. Anti-aliasing we've got an epic. If you don't have Temporal AA set on Epic, you get really obvious ghosting and shimmering effects where there's where you turn the wheel, where there's a bit of column on the steering wheel, or where there's stuff poking out, and on certain tracks like Paul Ricard, if you don't have Temporal AA on Epic, you just get shimmering and artifacting, which is really, really annoying, and you're going to notice very clearly on a 4K screen. So you have to go with these settings. The effects we've got on Epic, I've not experimented so much with the effects. That might be something we could turn down, but it didn't seem to make a huge difference in performance with the effects going up or down. Post-processing we've got on mid. Sharpness we've got on 15. I don't know if that even affects 2D. I think it might only affect VR, so I don't know why I put that on 15, but experiment with that. Foliage I've set to low because although grass is the most important part of a driving simulator, we can sacrifice that. We'll just imagine that people have been using lawn mowers very carefully. Textures, you really want an Epic in driving simulators. Normally it's not that demanding, and it gives a good sense of speed, and it with the road texture looking really nice and detailed, and it just makes things look detailed, really nice and detailed. It's not particularly a costly thing. Mirror quality was set to low because I'm always well, actually, I should have it on high if I'm always in front of everyone. I'm always behind everyone because I'm so slow, so I don't need mirrors. There we go. Mirror set to low. Opponent visibility all. Might even compromise that at some point. But with these settings, on the 4K screen and probably on a 1440p screen, we've actually got Competizione. You can see, probably see in the top left-hand corner. I'm not sure how clear it is on the video, but we've got Assetto Corsa Competizione running at, in this case, 76 FPS at sunrise with nice crisp graphics, and it does look genuinely arousing on a raw visual level. I think, as I said, it's the functional things of. Previously on the 1080p screen, I genuinely couldn't see clearly into the distance. Now with the 4K, even with Temporal AA on max, I can see the little details of the hillside at the top there. Nearly missed a break point whilst I'm looking at the hills in the distance. I can see that there's a little path going up that hillside, which I couldn't notice at 1080p, and it would have been just a blurred mess. I can see the little markings on the road surface. Unfortunately, I think YouTube video compression is going to butcher this footage so that it's not going to be particularly visible, but I can see all the little scrapes and divots and stuff in the road, which gives me a very good sense of the speed, and it then helps with stuff like when you're braking, a sense that the car's de-accelerating. I can also very clearly see all the little subtle bits of divots and stuff in the soil with the tyre marks on it, stuff that was just, again, blurred at 1080p. I mean, those sparks look gorgeous as well. So, actually, you can see on the screen now I can't really point it at. I don't know why I point at stuff. It's like I think I'm in VR when I'm not. In the middle of the screen, the metal support bar that goes across the windshield, it's probably some kind of like protection against a car tire hitting you in the face. But you see that bar, if you're running the Temporal AA at lower settings, that's the kind of thing where you notice all these like fuzzy effects around the edge of it. In fact, you can probably see it due to the YouTube video encoding. It's probably making that happen on the encoding. But in the game for me right now, it's totally crisp. You'll also notice in ACC, if you run the lower Temporal AA settings, behind the vehicles, like a sort of ghosting effect of the cars. Now, part of that might be, part of it is the Temporal AA, but part of it is also due to Temporal AA optimization. So I think that will gradually improve as the game develops further and it's optimized. But at the moment, unless you set the Temporal AA to Epic, that is going to occur, and it's massively distracting. But as I say, with the settings we've got right now, ACC looks absolutely from the first person view in 2D, not in VR. From the first person view, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Spectacularly gorgeous. To be a little bit of a Debbie Downer on that though, I have to say, if you play Assetto Corsa on a 4K or high resolution screen, That looks absolutely gorgeous as well. It doesn't look as good as ACC in the sense that ACC has the benefit of much better lighting, much more subtle lighting effects and lighting tone. I mean, it's one of the things that the Unreal Engine does particularly well is the sort of the way the different textures cause the lighting to illuminate the scene, and you get. I'm going to use the correct terms here. I haven't used any graphic 3ds Max, Maya, or XSI. You can't even get XSI anymore. I don't think. I think it's been liquidated. I haven't used these graphic packages for a long time, so I've forgotten all the terminology. But in short, the lighting and the coloration that you get in the Unreal Engine is just mind-boggling. You don't get that in Assetto Corsa, so you just benefit from it looking even more crisp than ACC. And some of the new tracks actually just look super detailed in AC. But yeah, you don't get that overall lighting and shading finish that you get in the Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. Oh, I'll finish this race. Let's push this. I was going to say, I'm not even going to bother to finish this. I'm going to try and pass this car in front of me, this Bentley, and then we'll load to night time, because that, we were trying that out last night, and that just looks again, it just looks absolutely amazing, and probably some of the best quality night racing visually that I've seen in a computer game. Though I do think Kunos still need to come on, we need to pass this Bentley. We get past him. We're coming. Oh no. Ruffle him. Oh dear. I do think they do need to increase the contrast of the headlights on the road surface relative to the contrast of the stars and some of the other things. Like the light balancing in ACC, I don't think is quite right yet. I'd say even in the daytime, it's not quite right. But that, you know, those are the kind of things that are when the game's much further in development. So I'm personally, I'm not particularly critical of that. We're gonna get past this Bentley. Come on, let's show me up. AI Bentley driver. Oh. I do quite like and find it funny that you get the daytime firework display in Assetto Corsa Competizione when you finish a race. There we go. We've got past the Bentley. One more car to pass here. Final lap. Fortunately, the AI don't brake for that corner appropriately. They're just too timid. Fanatec podium advert there. I've noticed they've added RC adverts to Assetto Corsa Competizione, and I think they've got Thrustmaster adverts. I mean, personally, it's nice if the sponsorship deals trickle down to the consumer in the price of ACC, or, you know, when it comes to like esports events and what maybe gets offered up through those partnerships. But personally, I do find it does damage the immersion of a driving game when the advertising boards are sim-related stuff rather than real-world related stuff. It kind of reminds you that you're playing a simulator rather than that you're playing a you're playing make-believe. I'm in a real GT3 car, you know. I can't really complain too heavily about it, but you know what I mean. I'm sure some of you probably agree. Some of you probably don't care. Well, you know what? We're not even close to the next car, so I'm just going to go to night time here, so you can have a look at that. Actually, if I park on the circuit, well, if I park somewhere, oh my God, this. It's a bad place to park. I was hoping that if I stopped It gives a chance for YouTube algorithm to not really have to do anything, you know, because it's a still image, so you might get a sharper idea. But you again in 4K, it's just stuff like the little marbling on the road, the track texture details, even on this part of the track where there isn't particularly that much in terms of little details on the road surface. In 1080p, I just wouldn't be able to see the subtle variations here at this acute angle, and the marbling would be pretty much well, it'd be pretty much indistinguishable, especially the marbling that's just before the grass. But yeah, at 4K, much better. Let's go to let's do a little night drive here. Sorry for not finishing the race, guys. If you were heavily involved in that and you were like, oh my god, I wonder if he's going to win or not. No, we weren't going to win. Let's go to night time here quickly with all the cars. Midnight, why not? Start at the back, confirm, start. I do it on the same track, why not? It's just a direct comparison. But Jaroslav Honznik showing off there. Yeah. I like how we start with all the headlights off. So this is what I was saying, this sky, like the stars are super bright, but you look at the headlights here. It's nice having that contrast, but let's also point out that I don't think it's a realistic star map. Come on, Kunos. If you're building a simulator, I expect to be able to see the plough, Orion's belt. I expect to be able to navigate by the North Star. Otherwise, it's a total Simcade title. You see the headlight throw here doesn't seem to be enough into the distance. It looks fantastic, but there's something about the throw of the headlights. It doesn't seem right to me. Like on the road surface, it lights up the stuff in the environment in a nice way, but the other aspects of it seem a bit off. I really like, though, at night, I like the kind of sheen that I like the kind of sheen that the road surface has with the rear view lights, the brake lights, and how they're reflecting. They're picking up the kind of matte finish of the road surface, but there's a really subtle fall off to the lighting. It's a really nice reflection. Sparks are nice as well. Good old Unreal particle effects. But again, I mean, when I was racing this at 1080p with the settings maxed, complete maximum, it just wasn't doing it for me. It just didn't have that basic fidelity. So if you're to take anything away from this video, complainer muscle, it's probably our trademark now. bitter old spoilt sim racing man. If you're going to take anything away from this video, it's that to really enjoy ACC at a basic level, forget VR at the moment. Really, I'm hoping they work something out, because VR, no buy. I mean, you know, I played in 2D a lot because of the live streaming. Come on, Bob. Okay, so it's a real shame about the VR at the moment, but hopefully maybe they can do some magic with that. But you need at least, I'd say, a 1440p screen and or a 4K monitor, but a 1440p screen, and you're probably going to have at least probably an i5. On the gaming side, you might not need. I don't think ACC is going to benefit from the i7 too much, but a moderate, a relatively modern i5 from the last 1 or 2 years, and at least like a 1070 Ti, but really like a 1080 Ti, and that's kind of what's required. So that's it. At the end of the day, ACC, Kunos are trying to. It's a conspiracy with Nvidia. They're trying to get them. You need a supercomputer to get those basics. So if you don't have a supercomputer and you're still living in the 1930s, like I am with my other monitor, then you know, you've got AC. Put it this way, it's going to be really interesting to see how things optimise with AC. ACC, but regardless of if the game runs faster, you can't. The only way to get around Temporal AA blurriness and FXAA just being awful is to throw physical real world pixels at it. There's no other way around it really. So yeah, bad news for those of you with a 1080p screen. But having played this in the 4K, I'm optimistic in some ways. I can now play ACC and enjoy it visually without going blind. So that's nice. Let's get on the back of this Ferrari. See, look how the trees are being lit up by my headlights, but not the headlights of the car in front. I guess maybe I'm going full beam. But the road doesn't seem to be being lit up that much, relative compared to what stuff in the distance is. I don't know. I guess it's kind of a visual compromise. At the end of the day, in real life, the way your eyes adjust to contrast, the sort of dynamic range of your eyes is totally different to what the dynamic range of your average TV computer monitor, even a HD TV, is still different. Like in real life, your eyes are just a lot better at distinguishing specific details in certain conditions. It's not just contrast, there's all like subtleties to it, so it's always an artistic compromise in a game. But I would definitely like there to be more obvious, maybe coloration on the road surface from my headlights. I don't know. You see the cars in front lighting up from my beams very obviously. You watch as they go around the corner and they go out my beams here. So now watch that car in front light up from my beams when I get on it, and see that. But it's not lighting up the road surface. But anyway, that's nitpicking. That kind of stuff comes at a later date when the game's more optimized, because it's basically just an artistic setting rather than a well, there'll be a technical aspect to it as well, but it's primarily an artistic setting and choice. Anyway, there we go, guys. I managed to witter on. Hopefully the settings earlier in the video. Look at it. There's the Nürburg. There's the castle on the hill. Oh dear. Germans are going to kill me. Hopefully the settings at the beginning of the video help those of you out. Hopefully you now realise if you've got a 1080p screen that you can cry and you're justified wasting money on a high resolution screen. There you go. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys in our next live stream. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Thanks to everyone that's used our Fanatec affiliate link. That's been massively appreciated. And thanks to all the support from everyone recently. That's been awesome as well. Take care. Happy cup of tea drinking. And goodbye.